Hello, welcome back, everybody. We've got a special, I was going to say midweek live, but it's definitely not a midweek live, is it? It's the weekend. We are here and we're going to be talking about the Golden Boy Riyadh season card that's potentially going to be going down in November. So we've learned, and I've got my co-hosts to No Punches Pull podcast that have dived on and joined me. We've got Jay's Fight Talk live and direct, straight from his van on the way home. How are we, Jay?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you.
Good stuff, mate. We've got Mr. Liam Tully as well. He's not in a van, but he's here and he's joined us. So thanks for coming on, Liam.
All good, mate. Always a pleasure.
Good. So, boys, we've got a little bit to uncover. There's plenty of subplots as well that have come off the back of this. It's not an announcement, is it? But it's kind of been teased for November, this Golden Boy Riyadh season card. We've seen Oscar and Turkey have been hanging out together, doing a little bit of I think it was the Crawford Madrimov card, wasn't it, that they first kind of started hanging about and talking after they went back and forth, didn't they, in the media a little bit for a while, but they seem to be on pretty good terms now. You know, Virgil Ortiz and Crawford's been kind of talked about and that kind of thing. But yeah, it's been not announced, but like we say, it's been teased. It's not your typical kind of Riyadh season card from the looks of it on the outset, but we'll talk a bit of boxer as well in regard to this, because one half of the teased co-main event is no other than Chris Billam-Smith. So Zurdo Ramirez and Chris Billam-Smith is the teased co-main event that we just talked about. Before going into boxer, Zurdo Ramirez, from what I saw last week or something like that, did not go to purse bids with Yanel Dortikar. What the former was he the finalist or semi-finalist in the WBSS? For starters, I thought that fight was done, Jay. Against Dortikos.
I don't know where this Chris Billam-Smith fight's come from, because as you said, as far as we were all aware, the Ramirez had gone to purse bids and that was him wrapped up for the foreseeable. And then this fight, for me, has just come out of nowhere. I'd not heard any rumours. It'd never been touted, really. You know, whenever we've over here as Brits, we've spoken about Billam-Smith or his promoter or Billam-Smith himself has spoken, he'd never really even spoke about Ramirez. So, no, for me, I'm surprised that the fight's been made, and it seems to have been made fairly hurriedly.
Yeah, Liam?
Yeah, I'm completely the same. Not a fight we were expecting. We know Billam-Smith wanted to chase unification fights, but didn't expect it to be Ramirez, especially after we heard about the purse bids. I thought that was Ramirez tied off fighting on a Golden Boy show probably towards the end of this year. And we were unsure what we were going to see from Billam-Smith. Don't get me wrong. If we get to see a unification fight, it's what we want to see. It's another step towards bringing a division together. We want to see Billam-Smith in these big fights as Brits, and an opportunity to see Ramirez fight. You can never turn down, but another power of Turkey and his money talking, seemingly being able to get a fighter out of purse bids. If this fight comes off, then the man's got a hell of a little pull in the game, hasn't he? As we already know.
Yeah, absolutely. So, you know, my initial thoughts on the CBS CBS and Zurdo Ramirez. Where did Jai Opetaia flick into it as my first? You know, how has he ended up fighting Jack Massey when he's in bed with Turkey? You know, he's one of Turkey's favorite fighters. He always seems to get on these shows, so it's kind of like
semi-final, maybe. Yeah. Are these going to be semi-finals, and we have a final on a Riyadh season card, maybe first or second quarter of next year? Are they working on something further down the line? Because it seems to me Chris Billam-Smith not necessarily called out Opetaia, but he's the name that's always been mentioned when talking about unifications. Ramirez was never really in the conversation, certainly from a British perspective. I've never heard of him being talked about in terms of Chris Billam-Smith. It was always trying to make the Opetaia fight. Opetaia's fought over here. He's fought on cards with other Brits. So it was always that fight. For me, it's potentially two semi-finals. I mean, it would make sense for it to be two semi-finals, would it not?
Yeah, it could be. Big up, Jam, for joining us. First up, Jam, thank you, mate. Hope you're well, mate. Hope you're having a good Friday and a good weekend. Look forward to the fights, and sure we'll have plenty going on over at Boxing Media Hub this weekend, so don't forget to subscribe. And also Jam's boxing chat for the shorts. We'll just stay on Jam here. CBS is scared of Big Jai. He's even offered to pay to fight CBS once none of it. It is interesting because Opetaia came on and called him out, didn't he, on one of them interviews? I think it was one of them Aussie cards lately that Jai had a bit to say about CBS. I just don't get it from any point of view. And what I really don't get, go on, Jay, carry on.
Sorry, I didn't mean to.
No, you're all right. Don't worry.
I don't. I mean, I'd have to disagree with Jams there, and there's not many things I disagree with.
And we lost him. Hello.
I don't believe that, 99.9% of fighters that have got the cojones to step through the ring, certainly at that level, I don't believe fear in terms of taking fights is an element in any of it. I just believe that the package wasn't right for Chris Smith. I believe, and we've seen this with him before, he does like to sort of have fights on his own terms. I don't mean stacked in his favour, but, he likes to be maybe the home fighter or, the decision to be his. Opetaya calling him out, I don't believe Bill Smith wanted to sort of jump to his tune. I think he wanted to do it when he wanted to do it, maybe on a big British card or one of the bigger Saudi cards. I just don't believe that he's scared. I just don't believe that the package potentially was right that was being offered in the background.
I personally don't think this has anything to do with Bill Smith himself. McGuigan and Shalom have both said in interviews they would much rather look towards another champion, pick up another belt, and then go into a bigger fight with Opetaya. So it wouldn't surprise me at all if this is...
Is it leverage? Is it leverage? They're gambling on themselves, aren't they? If they can pick up two belts. Yeah.
Semi-finals, mate.
They see Ramirez as an easier fight than Opetaya, which I would agree with. Look, he's going to have a hard fight against Ramirez. Yeah. I'd say it's probably 60-40 either way. Either way, we can discuss that when it's formally announced. But they think picking up another belt and going in with two belts against Opetaya's one, like you just said, Sam, it's leverage 100%. Yeah. Smart marketing, or is it? It's still we're still getting a unification fight of sorts here. Yeah, still getting a unification fight. That's the thing to remember. It's not Bill Smith fighting a mandatory. It's Bill Smith fighting another champion, which we should applaud.
Yeah. I believe that they're just looking at the bigger picture. I just think that the fight's even bigger if, because Opetaya's got a reputation and sort of a decent brand. Chris Smith, certainly with the way he shut down Riakporhe, who had this, unstoppable aura about him. He was, living the high life with the rich and famous. And he was expected to win that fight. But, when you speak to a lot of people, I actually picked him to win the fight myself. I was unsure and I thought it'd be close. And I think that if Bill Smith can pick up another belt, then it makes the Opetaya fight even bigger. So as you said, they're probably banking on both getting wins, and then we have this big, massive showdown. I mean, it could headline itself. That certainly over here it could. Bournemouth or down south, or that fight, Jai Opetaya, Chris Bill Smith, as a unification
fight. Could be a three belt unification. That so
and the Ring magazine belt as well.
Ring magazine belt, When you come at it from that angle, it does make complete sense. And Jams was just sort of saying the same thing. He's like, look, not CBS personally, but maybe the guys attached to him. So that makes more sense. They're the guys doing the deals in the background. Big up Jabbit Boxing. Thanks for joining us, my friend. Absolute legend. Go and follow Jabbit Boxing on the socials. That man is a hero. Big up, Jabs. He'll sell out the Vitality. Yeah, it absolutely would. I couldn't see Opetaya coming over to the UK if I'm being honest. One thing, Liam, I want to ask you about, because I know it's something that you keep your eye on quite a lot. What if Bill Smith does take this, or this fight does happen in Riyadh in November? Again, it's been in the news quite prominently lately. What does it mean for Boxer? There's no UK fight schedule. There's no, what's going on with Boxer?
It's, I hate to say it's another nail in the coffin for UK boxing on Sky, I think. Don't get me wrong, it's fantastic we're getting this fight, but it's just another one of Boxer's few marquee names they've got now fighting out in Saudi. So they announced Eubank Jr. in partnership as a marquee signing. He's in Saudi. One of their other world champions, Bill Smith, is now rumoured to be fighting out in Saudi. All you're left then with is Lawrence Zicoli, Lauren Price, and Natasha Jonas, if she's still got her belt, as world champions.
Yeah.
It's not a lot to do with.
Savannah Marshall with Boxer.
I'm not sure
she is, but she's MMA, isn't she, at the minute?
Yeah, exactly.
Isn't she the WBO super middleweight champion?
Yeah, what's happened to her? She fought in MMA lately, didn't she? And
I think
she's meant to be PFL.
They're trying to make the Shields fight, aren't they, in PFL, I think.
Yeah. I think so.
But either way, I mean, he's not got many left, has he, in terms of marquee British signing. Sorry to cut you off, Liam, but yeah, I mean, is this the start of seeing British fighters fighting away from home on Sky for the foreseeable? I mean, as you say, we've normally got fights right up to the new year by now. They're already announced that with a few TBAs on at the very most.
Yeah.
We're not getting that. They seem to be making shows sort of 6 to 7 weeks prior to them happening, which it's never been like that before. I just think that Uncle Turkey's flipped the game upside down completely, and certainly from a British perspective.
Yeah, that's for sure. Just go for a few comments, boys, before we'll move on to the next fight after that. Thanks, DJ Pat, for joining us. Go ahead and follow DJ Pat on the socials. Jai versus CBS probably on a Riyadh season card. I can't see that being in the UK. Yeah, I agree with that. I don't think Oppenheimer would come over himself personally either.
He's fought over it before, though, hasn't he? He's fought over it before.
Yeah, against much lesser opposition.
Jordan Thompson.
I would say.
Agreed. But he is a matchroom fighter. I could see it happening, but not with the ball he's got in Saudi now.
He wouldn't fight in Bilham Smith in Bournemouth, I don't think, in his backyard. I don't know. Maybe he would. Who knows? Jabbit, yeah, I think she is training for that Clarissa fight, as Jay said. Yeah, definitely. Jams, I know it's a different topic, but it's a shame, Brian. Yeah, we'll go into that in a little while if you want, Jams. Yeah, Norman seems to have just priced himself out from what I've seen on the offset, but his last post was 100K or something. He's demanding close to 2 million or something for the.
1.5.
Yeah, we'll go into that in a short while, Jams. We'll probably run for another. You boys got another 15, 20 minutes in you?
Yeah, all good, mate.
Yeah, we'll do that. We'll cover that after the end, Jam. Thanks for that, mate. Jab, it does suck. A lot of the British champions going from British shores, yet the time difference is all right, I guess, but we need solid. Yeah, exactly, Jab. That's where the foundation of the sport is built over here. Yes, the Saudi cards are good for us because of the time zone. I agree, but we need to keep pumping out good UK fight nights. And to be honest with you, Frank Warren's done a few good Magnificent Sevens. Bilham Smith, Riyadh, Port, Crystal Palace. I can think of like Matchroom's UK cards. A few of them have fell through, like Cattrall Pro. I know we're getting it rescheduled, but yeah, it'd be nice to see, some big card. I know we've got Wembley coming up, but it's a real Riyadh season card. But
I think the problem we're going to have moving forward is they don't no longer need gate revenue.
Yeah, it's not about that. Yeah, you're right.
No. But they'll put it on in a Sheikh's front room now, because previously they had needed gate revenue. I mean, not to this extent. But I've been involved with boxing, and I know that fighters have got to sell tickets to pay for themselves. They've got to sell so many. None of this is relevant anymore. The Saudis throw 10 million quid or 5 million quid, put us a card on, pay him this much, and they just do it now. And that's why we're seeing all these fights just get picked out of thin air on 2 minutes' notice and put on over there, because ultimately the promoters are only bothered about lining their own and the fighters' pockets. And if they can get that by not having to worry about council permits, sorting out lighting, production, they haven't got to worry about any of that.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately,
they don't need to worry if it's profitable or not. Crawford Madrimov was a proof of that. Crawford Madrimov flopped.
It's a little, it's different, but very similar. That's why we're seeing a lot more big cards. It's in the UFC, but then the fight night cards, a lot of them are poor, very poor, because they've got the ESPN money. They're only obligated to put an amount of cards on, not a quality of card. Mm-hmm. They have to put so many pay-per-views on. So
they've got a quota to fill. Yeah,
they've got a quota to fill. So they just put fillers in. We've got fight night cards that are absolutely rubbish, and I think we're going to end up just seeing the sort of Brentwood Leisure Centre. No disrespect to the good Mexican venue that Liam likes, which is the Brentwood Centre.
Yes.
But I think that's what we're going to see, a massive difference. We'll have the sort of regional shows over here, and then once they get above a certain level, they'll go to the bigger shows in Saudi. I hope not. Fingers crossed that this isn't the slow impending death of British boxing, but it ain't looking good, is it, boys?
No, definitely not. Yes, Jam, I agree with that. Sorry, Liam, I'll come to you in a second about...
No, this annoys me as well, this comment from Jam. This is a fight I wanted to see in the UK.
Fabio Wardley against David Adelaide was in Saudi too for a British title. It was, why are we doing British title fights in Saudi?
No, it shouldn't be allowed. It should be, British titles should have to be fought and defended on the British shores.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, Jan.
Come on, boys. We know what that happens. British Border Control got showed a £1 note from Turkey, and that was the end of that. That's why it's shown a £1 note, and they can't say no to it.
Yeah, Clark Water
Unfortunately.
could have possibly been a pay-per-view with a solid on the card. Agree with that, Jabs. Yeah, definitely. If you would have put your Ben Whitakers and your Adam
a solid
Aziz,
undercard. It didn't need a stop. You could have just put that fight on with a couple of warmers, a couple of floaters. I'd have bought it. Used to would have bought it. Most of us would have still bought it off the back of the first fight.
Yeah,
don't need a title. It don't need anything, that fight. We watch that anywhere at any time.
Well, exactly, and they can sell it off the back of the first one too.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It could have been a pay-per-view with just them two and 4 or 5 average fights on gimmies.
Yeah,
people would have still bought it. I don't think it'll do any better numbers because it's on this card. Only because of the fights above it. But you know, for them, they could have sold out the O2 for that again, and you know, made a lot of money. Maybe not the same amount of money they're going to get here, but you know, it's taking something away from the fans. You know, some of the best fights I've ever seen have been domestic title fights. Mm-hmm. Do you know what I mean? You guys will agree with that, won't you? Because we've seen some bangers for English belts, Southern areas, British, Commonwealths. They're some of the best fights you'll ever see in small halls or big stadium, big arenas. But yeah, it takes something away for it. Takes something away from it. For me, it being in Saudi, I mean, the atmosphere's shit. Let's be right. They've got piped-in crowd noise and stuff, and it's production looks good, but it's not the same for me.
Again, like you say, it's all on the turnover. Liam, I'm just conscious of time here a little bit. I want to talk about Jabbett's agreeing with you there, Jay Topman Jabs. Let's talk about William Zepeda for a minute. My old favourite. I love Mr. George Kambosos Jr. Not because he follows me on X, but he's just an absolute warrior. He's
you have to get that in there, didn't you?
Yeah, me and GK go way back. No, George Kambosos, I absolutely love him because he's willing to fight anybody. Did back-to-back Haney, Lomachenko, Teofimo Lopez. You give him anybody, that man, it will just say yes. But what's going on, Liam? I'll come to you on this one. What's going on with William Zepeda? So he couldn't fight Shakur Stevenson apparently because his wife was having a child or something like that. And now all of a sudden, he's either going to be fighting Kambosos, which I prefer, or Tevin Farmer. Like, where's Tevin Farmer?
Tevin Farmer.
You can't fight Shakur because of that, but you can fight. You know, I just don't get it. Like, it doesn't look. It looks like a duck from Zepeda for me.
Two schools of thought. He is either ducking. Zepeda is either ducking, or by November he's shown and again comes back to money. Shown a pound note by Turkey, bit of money, tick over fight, and then push into the big fights next year. Either way, it's not what we want to be seeing. It's not what we want to be seeing from Zepeda. He's number one with all the governing bodies. Push on for a world title now. He's been number one for at least the last year, possibly longer.
You can't, you can't give it the big one. And your team, you know, a lot of Zepeda's team have been calling for the big fights. And then, no disrespect to Kambosos, you know, because that's a great fight. It's not the fight the fans want to see.
He's never fought what? Yeah, it's up at 142 apparently, and Zepeda's number one and all the things at 135, and Kambosos has never fought at 140.
And I mean, Tevin Farmer, he's a former world champion. I think he lost it after his first defense. I'm pretty sure he's retired and come back and retired and come back. Nobody wants to see that fight. Tevin Farmer is not in the top 5 for me in either weight division. And as you said, Kambosos is not comfortable at the higher weight class. It screams of taking an easier fight to try and negotiate for more money, or as you said, they've offered him a carrot further down the line and said, look, just take a tick over, a decent name, because Tevin Farmer's a decent name, you know, but anyone that knows anything about boxing knows that should be an easy fight for Zepeda. You know, it's a win for him. Kambosos is a little bit trickier, but I would pick Zepeda in both of those fights for me. You know,
I pick Zepeda at cancer. I pick Zepeda at cancer.
Definitely.
I mean,
it's not what we want to see.
Tevin, no. I got on Tevin Farmer. He was one of Eddie's very first signings back when he was doing Matchroom USA cards back in 2016. Yeah. That's when he was world champion. It's a long old time ago he's world champion now. Yeah. You're just bringing him out for name value just to get him. For what purpose? Don't need to be seeing Tevin Farmer fight at this point. I mean, definitely don't need to be seeing Zepeda fighting. And 4 or 5 years ago, when Zepeda was on his way up and Tevin had just lost his world title belt.
William Zepeda's 28. He's not like a young enough, but like he's not like a burst on the scene prospect. He's 28. Like he's in his prime.
Needs big fights now. He's ready. Yeah. Zepeda's ready. You know, he should be fighting the top dogs. You know, and I'm not dissing Kambosos because Kambosos is he's up there, isn't he? But still,
He's been there, hasn't he? Yeah.
He's been there. He's been a champion. He's had some good wins. Some close losses. I didn't like the look of him in his last fight, if I'm honest. I think he made hard work of it. It's just I don't want to see either of them fights. I'll watch them.
No, that's going to be my next question. I'll just go through a couple of comments here. The Jam saying, nice to see we got 96k at Wembley. Yeah, that's brilliant news, Jam. Wembley's going to be absolutely phenomenal. He is a true warrior and fighting man, George Kambosos. For me, one of the last of a dying breed in a sport full of politics these days of people pricing themselves out of fights. Absolutely. Well past his best, as the boys said, Jams. Yeah, completely agree with you on that one. DJ Pat, we've got Shakur chose Matchroom because Golden Boy doesn't put Zepeda on that card relationship. Yeah, but the fight is Zepeda. Yeah, exactly. Agree with that. Yeah, I believe that they're saying that the next fight for both's going to be that, but I don't believe it until I see it either, Pat, on that one. Like, they've said Shakur's going to fight Cordina and Zepeda on his 2-fight deal with Matchroom, but again, I don't believe that one till I see it personally. I don't know what you guys think about that.
I think the thing on Zepeda as well, and I was just about to make this point on this fight, it looks like he's having in November. How much is his choice and how much is he being dictated to by Golden Boy? We know what Oscar's like. If we want to talk about the Matchroom relationship and his views on Eddie Hearn coming to America and all of that stuff, we know what Oscar can be like. So how much is he dictating what Zepeda's going to do as opposed to Zepeda saying, I want these fights? It wouldn't surprise me. We know Golden Boy are known for having ultimate control or no control over fights. Yeah, is this another example of that?
Yeah, I mean, Zepeda doesn't say much anyway.
Exactly.
Oscar's his mouthpiece.
Yeah,
he's a puppet, isn't he, Zepeda, unfortunately?
Oscar's notorious for just taking over and doing what Oscar wants for Oscar. So, yeah, I agree, Liam. It does sort of feel like it's more of a promotional effort than a fighter choose. I can't believe that Zepeda would want to fight either of those guys if given a choice. I'd like to assume that he's the type of guy that would just want to fight the best. And again, being as respectfully disrespectful as I can, neither of those two are the best in either of the weight divisions, below or above Zepeda. So, again, I'll reiterate, it just doesn't feel like it's a good decision for me. It's not something any of us want to see, and anyone I've spoke to since it was announced that rumblings of it, they've all had a similar reaction, sort of underwhelmed.
It's not. That's my next question. Before we'll go on to finish up any topics like Jam put in the chat about Norman and Cambos, Norman and Boots. Sorry, we lost Lee in there momentarily.
That's off already.
Yeah, he's logged off. What are your thoughts, Jay, on the card overall for a Riyadh season card compared to what we've been served up in Beterbiev, Bivol, Joshua versus Dubois, Crawford, Madrimov, Fury, Usyk, so on and so forth?
I mean, if you
I know it's not announced yet, like we were talking about it as if it's done. It's not done, but
if you look at the potential matchups, for me, they are closer fights in terms of they do look sort of 50-50-ish fights. The Riyadh season fights that we've had previously, you've probably got 2 or 3 that are 50-50 fights, and then you've got sort of fillers, 33-1 on and things like that. So, I mean, if the fights that are rumoured to be announced are announced, it's a good card. It's a strong card. I think it does potentially need another marquee name on there to really make it a great card, but I'll watch it with great interest. It's got some decent fights on it. Come on, Liam. Top your data up, lad.
No, he's back. He's back.
I'm back. Sorry, boys. Not sure what happened.
No, you're okay, Liam. I'll give this one to you. Shakur versus Tank is more interesting. Yeah, most definitely agree with that. With Ranja. Thanks for joining us, mate. What do you think, Liam?
I'm going to disagree with that because personally, Shakur versus Tank could be an incredibly boring fight if they fight in a normal style.
Yeah, stylistically, I know what you mean.
It's a better fight for me, on the eye. Certainly on the eye.
I think Shakur. Sorry, Liam, go on.
Ask questions of Tank. I'm sorry, and ask questions. Zepeda will come forward and ask questions of Shakur. So Shakur will be forced to fight. Tank wants to stay on. Cheers, Jabbit. Tank wants to stay on the back foot. If Tank wants to stay on the back foot and just have a standoff with Shakur, then that suits Shakur as well. They're both happy to be on the back foot. They're both happy to be low output fighters. For me, that could be, could be an absolute snooze fest. Whereas at least the Cepeda fight has the prospect to be more entertaining.
It would be very similar to Santa Cruz and Tank. Until Tank sparked him, he was just chasing him around, trying to get in. And Santa Cruz was too long, too cute. I think we could see something very similar that cancel each other out, whereas Cepeda will ask some serious questions of Shakur and he will have to box, whereas Tank will just look for a gap.
Yeah, my thoughts on, I think William Cepeda is tailor-made for Shakur. I think Shakur would absolutely school him, honestly do. I think that Cepeda's style would be an absolute, Shakur's style would be a nightmare for Cepeda, whereas Tank's lower output and stuff like that against Shakur, it wouldn't make for as good a fight, but I think Tank has a lot better chance of beating. Cepeda, for me, he's not largely unproven, but, and I just think that, these bulldozers and they're knocking everybody out and stuff like that, when they come up against like an elite boxer like Shakur is, like, trust me, like my opinion on Shakur is, and I've always kind of stood by him when, the people walked out on him in his last fight and so on and so forth. I think when the levels presented in front of him, when the danger's there, when the elite opponents are there in front of him, you're going to see the best of Shakur Stevenson, in my opinion. When you put somebody in there who's there to probably get a career high payday, he has no ambition to win, then like he's never going to look good. That's my genuine opinion on Shakur.
Okay, yeah, I mean it's fair. Yeah, I can't disagree with anything that you've said. Just for me, I think that the Cepeda fight would be better on the ice. I think Zepeda's going to take his head off. Shakur's going to have to mind his P's and Q's, which he will have to do with Tank. But as you said, Tank is a lot slower starter. He's a lot slower paced. So I think Shakur would have a lot more time, whereas with Cepeda, he's not going to have any time. So I think it makes for a more exciting visual fight. Maybe not a better fight for the purists like ourselves, but in terms of a fan-friendly fight, I'd rather see the Cepeda fight first.
Yeah, I'm with you. Yeah, anything else to add on that, Liam, or we'll go into a couple of... there are a few other fights on the card. Melikuziev's fighting on the card, obviously, the highly touted Gabe Rosado knocked him out in one of the KOs of the year a couple of years ago, but still a very good fight. You've got Arnold Barboza Jr. rumoured against Jose Ramirez. Obviously, his only defeat was to Josh Taylor in the final of the Super Series for the undisputed super lightweight championships, wasn't it? So he's... there are good fights. Obviously, Barboza was touted to fight Jack Cattrall, wasn't he, at one point of this before this Prograis fight happened. Good man, Dave. Thanks for joining us, mate. Appreciate it. It's played one of the best gas tanks in huge output and won't leave Shakur alone for 36 minutes. Tank will have 100%. There's a Cepeda fight without question would be a better fight than Tank versus Shakur. However, Tank versus Shakur is a way bigger spectacle and does way better pay-per-view numbers and so on. So that's definitely the balance for sure. We'll probably got around about 5 to 10 minutes, guys. Here, I know Jam talked earlier about. We may as well do it while we're here. Brian Norman and Boots. What are your? I'll go to you first, Liam. What are your thoughts of the whole saga?
I said on Tuesday night that this is the type of fight, take away the belts, this is the sort of fight we want to see for Boots and for Norman at this point in their career. It's two fighters that you favour Boots quite heavily, but it's a fighter in there that's a live dog that will give him a test. It's an exciting fight for him. To now hear, 48 hours later, that Norman's completely priced himself out of the fight and that Boots is going down a different angle, it just... Similar to what Eddie Hearn said in his interview from last night with Matchroom. Is he priced? Were they just using Boots' name? Was it all a marketing tactic to get his name talked about so he can get more winnable, bigger fights?
Yeah,
it's a massive shame because unfortunately,
Liam was saying his last fight he got 100K and he's asking for a couple of mil to fight Boots. It's like don't believe everything Eddie Hearn says. I don't believe everything Eddie Hearn says, but he said that the offers. He's not going to offer him less than a mil and a half, I don't think, for that one. So they need the belt. They want the belt for Boots. So Eddie Hearn's essentially trying to buy the belt for a fee. And it's just a mess. And they're not going to fight each other now. And it's, again, we lose out on the fight. Jay?
All I will say...
His dad, I'm sick of hearing bloody Norman's dad. If I have to listen to him one more time...
His dad's cost him the fight?
I think so, yeah. His dad needs to keep his bloody mouth shut. There's never been a good track record of dads getting involved. Yes, you can train your son. Keep your mouth shut. they normally go too far. They always go too far. They say
too emotional.
If he'd have kept his mouth shut and took the £1 million, he went in with a chance of winning. He could have springboarded, even in defeat. It could have, set him up for the rest of his life. But now, mate, anybody that he negotiates with now, they're just going to lowball him. They're going to lowball him because he's going to end up desperate for a fight.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Yeah, go on, Liam. So
he's a world champion, but the way him and his team have conducted themselves this week, they have made a mockery of what being a world champion is, because you're not a plucky challenger trying to come through and pick up a fight against the world champion top of the division. No, you are a world champion. Yeah. You are there. You are on the same level as both world champions as Boots Ennis. Now it's your turn to go and prove it. All you've done here is screw yourself for the future, because like you say, Jay, everyone's going to lowball him, and who realistically is going to want to work with Brian Norman when his dad's involved? He's up there with some of the stuff we see from Tio's dad or Eubank Senior and stuff like that. It's absolutely crazy.
It's mad, because the first thing I said when we spoke about it was talking about his dad. I wasn't even talking about him. That shouldn't be the case. I should be talking about him. He should have maybe not accepted the first offer, but negotiated within reason. He's priced himself out. He's asked for 20 times more than his biggest payday.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Absolutely.
You don't want the fight. You don't want the fight if you're asking for that. It's ridiculous.
Not if you're asking for that type of money. Or is he hoping that they're going to come in and try and make it in Saudi, and that's his number, so they know his number now? But I think it's had the opposite effect. They've just
I think DJ Pat's bang on the money here. Now, like Boots Ennis is this big killer, and people are kind of just wanting ridiculous paydays to go anywhere near the guy. I think and Eddie Hearn's looks like he's gonna have a problem finding Boots opponents now, because he's gonna fight is mandatory now, isn't he, or the number one guy?
He was gonna fight his mandatory. The only issue I have with that comment is that's all well enough for up and coming fighters to try and price themselves out of a fight, but for a fellow world champion to do that is ducking territory as well, regardless of what you say. Norman has completely ducked this fight, whether it's him himself, his dad, or his team. As a fellow world champion, he has ducked his biggest payday and the chance for him to propel himself onto the world stage, into the echelons we talk about Boots. If Norman was to pull off the fight, Matchroom would offer him a contract. He'd be on the Saudi cards, and it's his career going upwards.
I'll tell you who's going to fight Norman. Conor Ben.
Potentially.
If he can make 154, I've seen. I mean, he looks big. 147. Sorry, he looks.
He looks big at the moment, doesn't he?
He does. But I'm just thinking if that could be a route to make the Ben Ennis fight. If he goes and fights Norman, gets the belt, and they could make it. But can Conor Ben make 147? Is he going to get sanctioned? He'll get sanctioned. He's Saudi, won't he?
He's number 3 with the IBF at the moment. So even without the need to pick up the WBO belt, the cogs are already starting to turn to get him in that position, aren't they? I think it was last week he was put back in the rankings in the top 5, which not only with the 2 opponents he's had, but the fact we don't even know where he's licensed to fight is.
It's a mockery of the sport. It's an absolute mockery of the sport. I'm saying Ben, not as a fan, not that I think he deserves the fight, not that I think he should get the fight. I'm thinking as Eddie Hearn. And I think there's an opportunity there to make a massive fight somewhere between Boots and Conor Ben, because nobody really wants to see the Eubank fight, do they? But I mean, that could still happen. But I've got a funny feeling Conor Ben's going to work his way into this love triangle
he's in there.
Going on at the moment.
He's in there because he wanted to fight Boots before he picked up the ban, didn't he? When he called Boots out after the Van Harden fight, just before Christmas, wasn't it, Chris Van Harden? Then he called out Boots and said, I want you next. Obviously, what's happened since, look what Boots has done, look what's happened to Conor. Their stocks are now in 2 completely different places. Still be a fight I'd like
Boots
to see.
Is the man. Yeah, Boots is the man now, isn't it?
Boots dictates the dance now, regardless of whether it's made with Matchroom or not. Boots will dictate that dance now, and Conor's going to have to wrap his head around it.
He is the man at 147. It's Crawford's not there anymore. Boots is the man at 147. Is he going to get pissed off enough to go up to 154? I don't think Boots is any good at 154. I think he's too small, too short. I think 147 is his division. So, I'd like to see him unify, clean up, and dominate that division. But
he wants to unify 147. He said it himself before. He wants to unify or stay there.
Big up Jay, who's joined us. Yo, thank you, mate. Jack, Absolute Boxing. How are we, mate? Go and subscribe to Absolute Boxing. I think there's a few good interviews coming up there. Boys, we've got a couple more minutes left here. Nothing too much because we've gone on way longer than we thought we would already, but we love it. Johnny Fisher has been announced to headline the Copper Box, Bosch, whatever you want to call it, September the 28th, the date that Dalton Smith versus John Fernandez was meant to be on. Rhiannon Dixon and Terry Harper as the chief support, I believe. Thoughts on it, guys?
Excited. Really excited. I think Liam called it. You pretty much called the whole card, didn't you, from top to bottom, pretty much. So yeah, I think it's a good fight for Johnny Fisher. I'm excited to see him, given a test. I don't believe the Savage, Babbage, whatever, going to give him a fight. I've always thought he was crap, and take that how you want it. He's never been that good, has he? He had the name off the back of Dillian being his manager and whatnot, but I'm looking forward to Harper and Dixon. That's the fight for me. I've been looking forward to that. I was hoping that they'd reschedule it and not just push it back to later on in the year. Obviously it's the same night, just in a different place. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to that card. I think they've put it together fairly quickly, but I think they've done a good job.
At least we keep the day and the time, at least we get boxing on. Rudenko's tough, Jack. He's only been stopped a couple of times, if I remember off the top of my head.
Yeah. I think he's boxed at Cruiser as well, if I remember rightly, earlier on in his career. I think he might have boxed at Cruiser as well.
Started at Cruiser and moved up, Started as a Cruiser and he's moved up in recent years.
Yeah, I thought I'd seen him at Cruiser.
Jared Anderson stopped him, and Sirenk, he been stopped twice. There you go. He went the distance with Zhile Zhang and Cabiel. So, it's going to be Johnny's going to do well to get him out there.
And let's not get it twisted about Johnny Fisher, because everybody knows who he is, and his dad's on bloody billboards and the Bosch and the Chinese and that. He's a prospect.
He
hasn't had that many fights. He's raw. So this is the right fight at the right time, as cheesy and cliche as that sounds. You've got to work him through steadily. He's not boxed anybody of any great shakes, really. I think Babbage is probably the best person he's boxed, and I've just pretty much said he was shy.
He's ticket seller, and then he's got a lot better. So this should be a decent. He is 40, Rudenko. I would expect Johnny to get him out of there. He's gone the distance with Povetkin too, but
3 or 4 rounds, I think Johnny Fisher will knock him out.
That's what you'd want to see, and it's main value, and it's making the right steps now for Johnny. He's had his fun. He's the ticket seller. He's had the fun fights. He's picked up a Southern Area title. Now we're seeing, okay, mate, what have you got? What can you give us beyond British Commonwealth level? But I've been talking about the cards, kept Dixon Harper on there. Peter McGrail's out on there. Cameron Vong's out on there.
Yeah, some decent.
I'm interested to see Cameron Vong, because isn't he coming off an injury?
Coming off a hand injury, I think.
Out of the Jordan, was it the Jordan Flynn fight?
Jordan Flynn fight, wasn't it? So, because he's always looked the part, hasn't he? Obviously, I'd like to see him in a proper fight to gauge how good he is. But I mean, he makes all the right noises, looks the part. So yeah, it's got some good prospects on there and some good fights.
Matchroom have done really well to put this card together and not just try and carry it with Fisher and Harper Dixon. There's 4 or 5 fights on there that will do good on the TV broadcast. Yeah. And then what they've done well is the other 4 fighters are their prospects that they've had out in the Brentwood Centre, in Brentwood, Essex, before you start again, Jay Lane and stuff like that. Never going to live that one down, but they're filling it well, and they will fill up the copper box again, just like they've done in July. They'll fill up the copper box again, and they'll price it right as well. As long as they do tickets between 40, 80 quid, like they've done back in July, they'll fill that up easily. Even at 3.5 weeks' notice.
It'll be bouncing in the copper box, just like it was for the Babbage fight. Jack's is finally a UK matchroom fight again. Couldn't agree with you more, Jack. I'm going to call it there, boys, because if you know, it will be on for an hour and a half again. Jay's got to get home, and we're coming on tomorrow night, though. Well, say tomorrow night. It might be more like Sunday morning. We're not doing Misfits, so we're not coming on tomorrow night. But we'll.
Can't we do pretend boxing? I don't want to do that.
No, we're not paying 20 quid to watch Danny Simpson. I was quite interested in seeing how Danny Simpson looked.
To be fair, the last time I saw Danny Simpson had a fight, I think he ended up on front page of a tabloid, knocked out, didn't he?
Yeah, well, I don't know. We'll see what goes far, and it's been getting. But we're coming on to do Diego Pacheco against Maciej Sulecki in the early hours of Sunday morning. We'll see if Pacheco can be the first to stop Sulecki in what should be a decent fight. And then we've got lots of watch-alongs. You catch us on No Punches Pulled. We're going to do Tuesday because Inoue's fighting TJ Dehenny. So catch up with us around the usual time of 7:30 p.m. On Tuesday. Don't forget to subscribe to Jay's Fight Talk as well. Plenty more coming up there. And Jay's Fight Talk on X. I know we keep saying about Liam. He's going to let us know at some point. It will be very, very soon. Probably next week, Liam, we'll get some update.
I'm hoping so. So.
Okay, good. But in the meantime,
Liam, the fans are asking.
Yeah, I'll get it right at some point. Liam_Tully9.
Yeah, that's it, mate.
Got it right. Yeah, do that. And obviously, please subscribe to SW Fight Hub as well. Appreciate those that have stuck with us throughout. And we'll see you on Saturday and Tuesday. And have a good weekend, everybody. Cheers, Liam and Jay.
Everyone.
See you later.